Okay, thank you. Welcome to the Public Works Committee meeting. We'll begin by asking for a motion to approve the minutes. Mr. Bruno, on the motion, Ms. Turner on the second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, minutes are approved. Privilege of the floor. Is there anyone looking to address the committee at this moment? There being no one, let's move right into the action agenda. You want to start with Parks and Rec?
We'll start with Parks.
Okay, without objection, we'll start with Parks and Rec. And what do we have in front of us today?
Turn that over to Dean.
Dean?
Just two items of discussion, sir. First, you had approved us to move forward. And we did successfully for the Lake Champlain Basin Program for $5,800. Roughly at Up Beyond the Farm. Be a nice addition, help to offset some program materials and staff time. And actually the questions like that, but we're very happy that went through, as we mentioned before. We're reestablishing communication with grant agencies, and both Chris and I had from previous jobs had good relations with that. That's an open the door type thing, so we can move forward into larger grants to help offset larger projects at the farm.
Do we need a resolution accepting those funds?
Just discussion.
Just discussion.
we already-
Okay, very good. And you want to move into your stocking report?
Yes, as you see, I handed out to everybody here, is what we've stocked. As you all may know, up until this week, we've had freezing nights that have had an impact on our ability to transition our fish out of our temperate water supply at the hatchery, from our spring-fed waters to get them out into the bodies of water throughout the county. This is what we've stocked to date, and this week is very busy. Our truck is going in and out of the hatchery today vigorously and vivaciously for the rest of the week as well. So things are looking really good though. As you see, rainbow and brook trout on the average are about 10-11 inches, and there's some very nice 2-year-olds as you look at that that are going in. Brook trout roughly 15.5 inches, and rainbows a little smaller than that, up towards 14 inches. So very good fish going out into the waters. Happy to take any questions if needed.
Any questions for Dean? Stocking program. I think it's a wonderful program, and I think it really it serves a lot of interest here, and up into and including fishermen are out, in all kinds of weather, and people come in from all over to fish our waters, and
The tourism.
Yeah.
I wouldn't mind even doubling things in the future.
Although the temperature put us back roughly a week, well, as compared to last year, almost in several weeks. It is nice because people come down asking where are all the fish, and we get to tell them that we have our Spring Zing program coming up on the 10th. So a little advertising going on in to downplay the excitement for fishing. So,
Well, thank you for that report, Dean.
you bet.
Thank you. Next, Kevin.
You will move ahead and solid waste.
So, Dean, thank you.
Yep, thank you.
Okay, solid
Dean.
waste. Where would you like to begin, Kevin?
We'll start with information for discussion, and I thought Scott was coming down, but maybe not. So to start with the hauling update, number one, under information for discussion. Scott, several weeks ago, and I think some of the supervisors there had a meeting with all the transfer station operators just to kind of go through with us gearing up for the summer. I do now have 2 full-time drivers and a part-time driver. They've been able to certainly keep up with the hauling for all the towns at this point, but we've had several discussions of just materials being taken in and make sure that they call us when they have full containers. We've gone out for several that they've said, hey, we're ready for a pickup, and here's Scott right now. we're ready for a pickup, and that they didn't have quite full containers, and I certainly don't think the towns want us hauling half-filled containers to the transfer station. So Scott, we were just talking about the hauling update, kind of filling them in on the meeting that you had with all the towns and how we're keeping up, but we're gearing up certainly for the summer, because on an average last year, we had 150 runs a month. So that what we're expecting as we move into the busy season here. We had a couple blips, I think, with some of the towns because not to pick on any one town, but I will pick on the town of Bolton. They put out a house cleaning, I guess I want to say, card that they give everyone, and it's due usually in March before they renew it for April. So everybody in March brought all their household, not hazardous waste, but C&D waste to the transfer station. So we were quite busy. We had, I think, 5 more runs than normal, just for them alone, but we've had a couple busier months into the spring that we weren't expecting. So, but we're able to keep up with everyone. I don't know if it's anything.
Yeah, no, just, yeah, we're coming up on 350 hauls since we started in January, so definitely looking at the efficiencies. You may have already touched on that, but so the logistics in getting more standardized approach to the pickup. So the most efficient way is to bring up an empty container, take out the full container, and kind of move on to the next station. Getting a little buyer drive-in on driver buy-in on that. So when a driver comes up with an empty container, they have to set it down, pick up the full container, set it down, take the empty container, put it in place, and then move on. So, you know, there's some extra time there, but in the long run, that's going to make it more efficient. So as we gear up toward the busier months, we're just looking at how to properly route all the runs and make sure that we're kind of moving through the system.
And there's certainly some towns who assist us with this. They'll pull containers out when they're full because they have a backup there, and they'll put in the other containers. But in other instances, I mean, it takes us 15-20 minutes, drop a container, pull another one out, you know, hook up to the new one, pull it out, get it on the truck, set it down, grab the other container, push it back in place. So there is some time into doing that. As Scott said, we're just trying to be as efficient as possible. One of the things that we've just done as well is I had a lot of old containers that are beyond repair that have been sitting in our, what we refer to as the pit up in Warrensburg or in Lake George. We've started to take those out of there for scrap and bring them down to Cohen's. That revenue that's coming in for those, we would certainly use to buy newer containers that we can have backups in most facilities as much as we can. So
You know, my only comment would be to, you know, to the supervisors is, you know, was a very significant move of the county to provide this as part of our waste strategy. And there may be some bumps in the road here this year, especially as we become accustomed to the flow of material and what our exact manpower and equipment requirements going forward. So we would ask a little bit of patience this year as we fully transition this over through the county. I think we're all going to be better for it, but it's a big move. And so try to be good communicators and have a little patience.
just to talk to that a little bit, certainly. Please reach out to, I mean, Jericho is basically our working foreman in that group. So Jericho is one of the drivers, but he's also the working foreman. So he's on the road quite a bit. If you don't happen to get a hold of him for a pickup, just reach out to Scott. Scott's the next in line, but Jericho will certainly answer individuals back. He always does. Just he's out on the road most days, and I don't expect him to pick up his phone when he's out on the road. So.
Okay, next item.
Next items is the food scrap compost update, and Scott can chat to it a little bit, but I will say that we finally received the contract paperwork from the state. So we will get that to the county attorney's office. So we can get the chairman of the board to sign that. So that it finally came through.
Yes, we, been anticipating this stage. Prior to that, we've been, using our working group to kind of plan through kind of the lead time for all the different pieces of this. Because obviously it requires a lot of different parts to come together. So I feel like we're in good shape. There's a multi-step attachment for kind of the next steps in processing. Basically, I need to go back and look at the original work plan and budget we had submitted prior to getting the grant. So kind of working with Kevin to go through that and kind of get to the next steps. The good news is the working group is kind of ready to assist in any way possible. So I feel like we're in good shape and just kind of moving through the contract phase of the process.
Yeah, I've been, recently I've seen, some, I think it was on TV or somewhere, some material on, green waste composting. Was it resiliency? Is that,
The company,
yes,
I don't know about them in too much detail. I just know that there's a lot of players trying to
right.
anticipate. New York State's gonna lower the standards for large generators, so starting in 27. So right now it's 2 tons a week, within 25 miles of a facility that can accept material. Starting in 27, it's gonna be 1 ton within 50 miles. And then starting in 2029, it's a 1/2 ton within 50 miles. So it's gonna, shortly gonna impact a lot of businesses. There's a lot of ways for businesses to kind of hold off. One of them is, even if we have a facility that's processing materials, for the pilot, it's gonna be fairly small scale. So they're exempt if the facility within the radius cannot kind of process that material.
But our planning will try to keep an eye on call it the burgeoning, the growing, industry.
Yeah.
Yes. Especially as it relates to the major producers, your supermarkets, hotels, et cetera, that produce a lot of green waste. If we have a burgeoning and growing private sector that's dealing with that's something we don't need to fix what's not broke, right?
Agreed.
Kevin?
I want to back up a little bit for the hauling update as well. So one of the things that was discussed in the local solid waste management plan when we put it together was to have. One of the things to look at is to have transfer stations do a pay by weight. Certainly that would probably change. Kind of what materials that are brought through into a transfer station, as we've all discussed, probably about 30% of the waste that comes into the transfer stations is food scrap, food waste. I know the town of Johnsburg, they're not here, but they just put themselves in a scale. I know that Chairman Gary has a scale at his facility, and where else?
So Horcon has a hand scale.
In Oregon has a hand scale, but it may be, Gene, you guys have a scale as well? So maybe something to think about. I mean, I certainly know there's a cost to the scales, but we know from the town of Johnsburg and from the town of Warrensburg that they've paid for themselves within a year. So it's certainly something for transfer station operator or transfer station owners, the towns to consider, is to start putting in scales in their facilities, and that may reduce some of the waste that comes in because now they're paying by weight.
My sense is, talking with Jeremy, like Warrensburg seems like they would be willing to help share kind of their process and basically the turnaround time, the buyback period. I think that would be a way to go for other towns to at least look at, how long wait out. Yeah.
The scales on bid contract, state bid contract.
We have to look. We're gonna kind of do an analysis real
Okay,
quick
good.
to see.
It would be good to get them on contract.
Yep.
That would make it a lot easier.
And then the last thing to do with the hauling, I just wanted to give kudos to the town of Queensbury and their new reuse facility. Another transfer station is added, another reuse facility, so. Thanks, John.
Okay, anything else? The working group?
Just with the working group, the mission of the working group is to look at both recyclables and the food scraps and compost. On the recyclable side, we submitted for an EPA grant last fall. There's been a lot of questions of, are those grants moving? They may still be moving. I did just see an article that they may not, they may still be moving forward. Before that, then the working group also wanted to talk about, are there other ways we could look at getting some of these higher value commodities to market? So we had Replenish, which is kind of acts as a broker to the recyclable marketplace. So they are going to submit us kind of a just proposal for what it would look like if we wanted to lease equipment from them, if we wanted to pilot some of the higher value materials like cardboard. All the transfer stations get nice, clean cardboard. We're currently paying $90 a ton to get rid of that cardboard, which, seems like that doesn't make a whole lot of sense when that material has pretty significant value. So we talked to Replenish about, okay, could we pick one material and try to pilot kind of a process to get that to market, demonstrate to the county that we can generate some income for some of these materials that we're currently paying to get rid of. So we're waiting for Replenish. They presented to our working group, so we're just waiting for them. They were gonna just submit us a proposal. That was a little smaller than the larger scale recyclable facility that we have.
We certainly think that cardboard would be the ideal thing to start with. With plastics, it's too difficult because you'd have to separate them. And the ones and twos are the plastics that are worth more. The remainder of them are not. So we thought if we got a chance to do this pilot, we would start with cardboard forward with that.
Yeah, the cardboard market has done a complete 180 in the last decade. I mean, it's amazing, the shift from, it being a revenue, although the tonnage was never great as paper after all, but it's nevertheless, it was a positive revenue to become a negative revenue, and that's happened relatively quickly. If we could find some better markets for the cardboard, that would be a great thing, for a lot of reasons, of course.
And one of the things to that is Scott's talked about it before, and I have as well. It's corrugated cardboard. A lot of the other cardboard that's mixed in is what they consider contaminated, basically. So if you, for your Pepsi, you get the 12-pack Pepsi cans, that's considered contaminated cardboard. It's because of the color, the
Inks.
paint, the inks, and whatever else. The corrugated cardboard for your Amazon boxes, that's the valuable cardboard.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's an important piece of the equation as that industry grows, companies like Replenish and others, I think, can be, great partners for us going forward. Anything else, Kevin?
That's it.
All right, anyone else have any business before the committee? Chair, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Mr. Bruno on the motion, Mr. Cressida on the second. All those in favor of adjourning signify